Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to my Railcraft version 6.0 Spotlight. Oh man, there are tons and tons of changes going on since the latest version of my Railcraft Spotlight. I think I did it on 5.0, and I went to the changelog and said, I'll just do a quick spotlight on what's changed in 6, and then I looked at the changelog and said, oh, that's not going to be a quick spotlight, because Covert Jaguar has been hard at work adding all kinds of crazy and awesome things to Railcraft. So without further ado, I better get started, otherwise this video is going to be crazy long. Alright guys, let's check out Railcraft version 6.0. Alright guys, so let's check out what's new in Railcraft version 6.0. It's currently actually 6.1.0, I believe, as the time of this recording, but as hard as Covert works, I suspect it'll be 6 point something else soon. First off, I want to show you guys the train stuff. As you might have remembered from my last Railcraft Spotlight, you can create trains by taking two carts and connecting them with a crowbar. Boom, and now they are linked as one train, right? You can't separate them, and they're one train. Awesome. Now, one of the new rails that has been added is called the coupling rail, and when it has a redstone signal, any two carts that pass over it in, somewhat rapid succession should link together and to form a train. And then there's a decoupling rail over here that kind of does the opposite. It will decouple any trains. So let's check this out. I'm going to place two carts, something like this. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit the button, and this should kick these carts over here. And right now they should be coupled as a train. I shouldn't be able to separate these trains at all. So they're nice and coupled together. So as soon as they went over that little track, that's what happened. Now when they go over the decoupling track, it'll do the opposite, and it'll now separate them, and they can now be separated, no longer forming a train. So those are your tracks for coupling and decoupling trains. Now, to go along with that, there's actually another cool little block called the train detector. And what that's going to do is it's going to emit a redstone signal when it detects a train of a certain size. So let me get myself some carts. I'm going to get about 6 of them. Well, let's make it just 3 for now. That ought to do. All right, so I'm going to take these two carts right here and link them together. Cool, link created. Now if you look real closely, you'll see that the redstone signal is not emitting at the moment. That's because this cart is set up to only emit a redstone signal when it's found a train higher than 3, or equal to. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this next guy here. Boom, link created. Now we should wind up with a redstone signal being emitted. Let's check it out. Boom, there you go. So the train detector here is probably really good to be used with the coupler to pretty much set it up so that it will couple some carts until it gets to the desired train size, and then, let the carts continue along. So those are two cool ways to mess with trains. Another neat way to mess with trains is this guy. Okay, let's check this out. This is the train dispenser. The recipe for him is a bunch of crowbars and some redstone around a cart dispenser, and this guy has a really cool interface. You basically tell it the pattern of train that you want to make, and then you just hit the button, and it's going to emit a train of this pattern. It automatically links them together for you. You just need to make sure you have enough trains in the buffer to supply it. So this one's going to place down a furnace cart connected to a mine cart, 2 chest carts, another mine cart, and then another chest cart. Let's check it out when I push the button right there. Boom. Ta-da! Train connected. Awesome. And it spews it out nice and fast. Pretty good idea to have some powered rails right underneath it so that they can all get spit out nice and quick. So cool though. And you can pretty much make any patterns that you want. I love it. Now I spoke briefly about the train detector. I also want to show you another type of detector. Now you guys have seen that there's a lot of detectors available. Anything from anything being in the cart to an empty cart, mobs and powered and player carts and explosive carts and animal carts. Well, that's all cool, right? You've even got growth carts and the detector for the train. Well, another neat detector that was recently added is the sheep detector. This guy is pretty cool. It'll emit a redstone signal whenever a cart with a sheep inside passes over. Awesome. And you can even filter it to a type of wool color, cyan wool. It'll only emit when a cyan wool color sheep passes over it. So if you ever want to set up some neat sheep splitting system or something like that, definitely an approach to take would be to mess with this thing. It's very cool. Now, what's also neat, you might be noticing, is as I place my cyan wool in here, it's not, using up the cyan wool. That's because a lot of the interfaces in Railcraft will now accept, just like Buildcraft does with those neat little, invisible block type things that just represent what it's going to be, and it doesn't use up the block, just like Buildcraft and Forestry. Now another type of detector that's recently been added is the directional detector track. I looked at this and said, how come nobody's ever thought of this before? This is the most brilliant thing ever. The directional detector track will only emit a redstone signal when a cart is traveling in the direction that the little arrow's facing. And of course we can change the direction by right-clicking with a crowbar. And you just have the arrow facing that way, and that means it's going to emit a redstone signal when the cart travels over it in that direction. Let's check it out. Ta-da! It emitted a redstone signal. The redstone torch here just blinked off for a second. Now if I click it back this way, it's not going to emit a redstone signal when it goes back the other direction. Note that no redstone signal was emitted there. Cool. So redstone signal when it goes that way, and no redstone signal when it goes back this way. Pretty neat. Now another change that has been made here is regarding the item loaders and unloaders. You may remember previous versions of Railcraft had a pretty simple system of loading and unloading items. Well, this interface here got a huge overhaul, and the functionality was also changed. Look at this, it's crazy. It's got tons of cool stuff going on. Let's check it out. It's really not that hard. Alright, so on the left you have the filters mode, which will control certain filters, and it basically acts like a Red Power 2 filter almost, or the filter on an advanced wooden pipe, in that you can tell it what items are allowed to move through the advanced item loader. Okay, the carts slot up here tells it what carts are allowed to be filled or interfaced with. If you leave both of these blank, it'll do anything. So pretty much right now, it's going to do anything at all. It'll put any items in any carts of any kind. Now, if you tell it to only work with certain types of carts, that's cool. We can also see that there's 3 buttons down here. These are the 3 different modes that the item loader is now available and comes with. You've got transfer mode right here, stock mode, and excess mode. And I'll explain what these do now. Transfer will filter this slot over here. The filter controls the number of items that will be moved, and an empty filter indicates that any items found will be moved. This is the default setting. So let's check this out real quick by just orienting this thing the right way. There we go. And we'll get a cart under it. Let's get a cart like this. And I'm going to place 5 cobblestone in the filter there. And if I put in the buffer here, 55 cobblestone, let's see what happens when this thing shows up. Alright, so just to demonstrate this again, the transfer cart I've got set up so that 5 pieces of cobblestone will go into the cart out of the buffer. Let's check it out now. All I have to do is send the cart under there. Boom. And we'll note that 5 pieces of cobblestone have come out of the buffer, and now there's 5 pieces of cobblestone in the chest cart. Perfect. Nice and simple. And the cobblestone went back here. So that's how the transfer mode works, is that it'll transfer the items that you tell it. Now if you've got dirt in your buffer here, it's not going to go into the cart. Let's check that out now, because we didn't put that in the filter. So again, only 5 cobble will go into the cart, and the dirt will not go in. Sweet. So that's the transfer mode, okay? Now let's check out stock mode. Awesome. Now before we look at stock mode versus transfer mode, I want to show you one aspect of transfer mode. Okay, note that the cart is currently empty. When I send it over there, it's going to get 5 pieces of cobblestone and send the cart on its way. I've placed some powered track under here to indicate this. Note that we have 5 pieces of cobblestone in there now. If I send the cart again, it's again going to place 5 pieces of cobblestone in the cart, and now we have a total of 10. And it'll keep going every time we send it over there. Now stock mode has a slight difference here. Stock mode almost works like a logistics supplier pipe in that it will try to match the inventory here with the inventory here, and it'll send the cart on its way once it matches. So let's see what happens now. If I go ahead and send the cart under there, it should get 5 pieces of cobblestone. Ta-da! Now if I send it under again, because we've switched it to stock mode, note that it still only has 5 pieces of cobblestone. So it's going to try and make the cart match up with the inventory inside the filter. Pretty much, this is a logistics supplier pipe. If you think about it, you tell it over here what to give it, and it'll make sure to get what it needs. So it'll keep going. Now when I send it over here, we should match it up with 5 cobble and 1 dirt. Pretty awesome. Finally, let's take a look at excess mode. What excess mode does is you put in the filters what you want to keep in your buffer, and it's going to keep it in your buffer, and it'll deposit everything else. So let's check that out now. If I send this over here, what we should wind up is dropping 24 cobble and 2 dirt into the cart, keeping 10 cobble and 1 dirt in the buffer. Trying it now. There we go, 24 and 2, and you can see that we matched the buffer with the filters. So basically we can say, hey, keep these items in the advanced item loader under all circumstances. And as many times as we send the cart under there, it's not going to do any difference. Now the wait button is going to tell it under what conditions to wait. So let me demonstrate the wait mechanic here with stock mode. Now if I tell it to put 7 cobblestone, and always put 7 cobblestone into the chest cart, and I only have 3 available in the buffer, if wait mode is off, it's going to drop those 3 into the cart, and then let the cart go on its way, because it's not enabled on wait mode. It's just going to say, hey, I gave you everything I had, go along. But if I have 3 cobblestone sitting in here and wait mode is on, it's going to make the cart sit there and wait until it has the 7 that I told it to keep. So if we put 1, 2, 3, and then 4 into the buffer, now it says, hey, you've got the 7 you need, go along your way. So that's how wait mode works, and it works very similarly for transfer and excess mode as well. Finally, just like a lot of Buildcraft mechanics nowadays, you can place phantom items in here, in the filter slot that is. So all you have to do is, right-click to place as much cobble or less as you want. Go ahead and right-click to increase the amount of items you have in the slot, and left-click to decrease. And shift-right-click to double, and shift-left-click to half, and middle-click to clear. Another neat little track of type of track is the buffer stop track, requiring a block of iron, but it's pretty cool. Check this guy out. Ta-da! Awesome looking, isn't it? Yep, it basically, instead of just having the ugly cobblestone like I've been using throughout most of this video to act as a stopper, the buffer stop track is just looks cool and will stop a block. It'll stop a cart or train as it's coming across here. So just a neat other way to stop things instead of just having an ugly block behind it. It looks awesome. Now let's talk about some of the new machines that were added to Railcraft. Now if you're not familiar with the blast furnace or the coke oven, then you probably haven't been playing with Railcraft too long. These are the ways that you make some of the more advanced items in Railcraft. Well, they're built with, kind of like, the coke oven. There's a couple new machines to build. Let's check them out. First off, I want to show you the rock crusher. This guy's pretty cool. It's just a 3x2x2. And once you place, when I'm right clicking here, nothing's happening, the last block, now you have a neat little interface. Cool. The rock crusher has a lot of functionality. It's basically almost like a macerator for Buildcraft. It requires Buildcraft energy, and you can crush, first off, obsidian. Now this is pretty neat. You get a chance of 25% of getting obsidian dust, and then you can get crushed obsidian. Now if you put crushed obsidian in here, you're guaranteed to get some obsidian dust, and I'll go into the uses of this in a bit. But you can also see that you can use this to recycle some things. So if you put some coke oven bricks in here, you get back some of your sand and maybe some of your bricks. And your blast furnace, you might get some other cool stuff back. Now you can also use this to macerate down cobblestone into gravel. You have a chance of getting flint out of that operation as well. You can also macerate gravel down into sand with a very, very small chance of getting a diamond. Super small, less than 1%. Also a very small chance of getting a gold nugget. So a pretty neat functionality. And as you can see, there's plenty of cool stuff you can macerate or rock crush as it would be. So if we flip through here, you can see some cool functionality being added, of course. You can also rock crush some bone down into some bone meal and blaze rods into some blaze powder. Pretty cool, with a chance of getting more than just 2. Sweet. And you can also crush down your charcoal into charcoal dust. Now I'm going to take a brief step away from the rock crusher for a moment. I'll be right back to it to show you guys the coke oven. The coke oven has changed just a little bit in that now when you put coal in this guy and start, doing your crazy coke oven-ly stuff, let's put some coal in there right now. You'll quickly note that the coke oven turns on and it starts doing its thing. I'll be back in a moment when it's done. So as you can see, the coke oven here has a slightly different interface. First off, on the right-hand side is this tank-like structure, because creosote oil is now considered a liquid within Buildcraft. It is no longer given to you in capsule form. Of course, that doesn't mean you have to keep it as a liquid. If we check out our creosote in here, we can see that not only does it make it possible for it to go into buckets, but you can also put it into bottles if you want. It's in here somewhere, how to do bottles. Okay. Oh, yep, there we go. Yep, it'll just go into glass bottles. You can see all the different things that it can go into right here. It can also go into cans and capsules from forestry. So pretty awesome. You can use whatever medium you want to hold your liquids. So the creosote oil can go in there. As always, it still creates about half a bucket's worth. A bucket is considered 1,000. So in the coke oven, it's currently got 500 because it's only processed one piece of coal. You can place your wax capsules in the top here, and once it gets 1,000 creosote oil, or 2 cycles worth in the coke oven, it'll go ahead and move a wax capsule down here. So as you can see a moment ago, we got our creosote oil capsule. Now the reason I took a brief moment to interrupt and show you the fact that creosote oil is now an actual liquid is because I also want to show you that it can be used in the biogas engine in forestry. How cool is that? Creosote oil hangs out right in there. It's also capable of outputting about 4 megajoules per tick. Now remember, biogas and fuel and biofuel output 5, and oil in a combustion engine outputs 3. So this outputs just a little bit less, but you can see it heating up right now, and we'll go ahead and turn all these engines on to make sure we're supplying power to our rock crusher, which we're going to demonstrate for you now. So we can see here we're producing 4 megajoules per tick with creosote oil. Pretty awesome. But of course, biomass is producing 5. Neat. Now onto the rock crusher. This thing, as I mentioned, will act as a macerator. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the iron wasn't shown in here. That's because it's not detecting industrial craft at the moment, probably because I have a beta version of it. But I think it might also be that it's undetectable in version 6.1, something like that. But don't worry, once you have industrial craft installed and you have Railcraft installed, you will be able to macerate your ores, such as iron and gold ore, and get some iron and gold dust from industrial craft if you have industrial craft installed. But as I mentioned that that's not installed, I'm just going to go ahead and throw some cobble in here. Just place it over here in the left track, and you'll see this neat little interface going over here. This slot over here tells you if you're getting enough energy. This thing's capable of handling a lot more energy than it's currently getting, I think. I want to say it's somewhere around 15. It's got a neat little sound effect too, I like that. Let's get another engine going here, because it sounds like we might need one. Alright, just added a 4th engine over here, and you can see that now we're getting enough power. So I believe it's around 15 megajoules per tick that are required to keep this thing running steady. So now I've got 3 engines running at the moment, each producing 5, and we should be running just enough power to keep this thing nice and steady. Oh yeah. So that will make your rock crusher run at max speed. Pretty cool. And you can see it macerating its cool stuff. And again, if we were to throw gravel in there, it'll chew that up into sand, with a very, very small chance of producing diamond. So, not a bad thing to use your gravel on. And just for completion's sake, I'll make sure to show you that the rock crusher recipe is this guy. You're going to need quite a few diamonds. So remember you need, let's check it out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on the other side, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you're going to need to create this rock crusher block 3 times, which means you're going to need 12 diamonds, 12 pistons, and 3 blocks of steel. So keep that in mind as you're going to mess with your rock crusher. Now, speaking of cool types of engines, why don't I show you guys the Hobbyist's Steam Engine. Pretty neat little device. It's Covert Jaguar's first foray into producing some Buildcraft energy on its own, as far as I can tell, and messing with, steam power. Now, it's meant to pretty much be equivalent to a coal engine. You need to throw some coal in there, and you need to throw some water in there. So if I do that, you can see that its water tank is filling up nicely. All I have to do now is apply a redstone signal to this guy, and it should start producing some energy. You can see the little flame thing going on here. I'm going to connect some piping here just to make sure everything is behaving itself and sending the power somewhere. Remember, we don't want the power to go nowhere. So ugly, but the line works. The engine is really pretty neat. You can see it's got some steam. It's heating up to a pretty nice high degree. I think this is just his first version of some kind of steam power. And if I know Covert Jaguar, I suspect he's going to start doing some crazy cool steam stuff in the pretty near future. Oh look, it's moving too now. Awesome. So it's producing energy and sending it down the line. Again, it produces a very similar amount, pretty much equal to a coal engine in Buildcraft. It produces 1 megajoule per tick with a maximum somewhere around 1.5. Though I'm not sure exactly how to get it up that high. But you can see this cool amount of steam and some water. Just make sure to keep your water level well filled, otherwise you might have a little explosive problem. Oh yeah, and you can see the megajoule per tick output down here, pretty much as it's climbing in temperature and builds up its steam power here, it's producing more and more energy. Now I did show you guys a moment ago in the rock crusher that you have a new type of obsidian called crushed obsidian. This stuff is pretty neat. Tell us about it, Direwolf. You got it, audience. I just got to place this crushed obsidian over here. First off, it's pretty blast resistance in that it won't, get destroyed by explosions as easily as other stuff. So it's pretty much got similar blast resistance as obsidian does. Secondly, it works like sand in that it falls. So it's affected by gravity, but has strong blast resistance. Now, obsidian dust, on the other hand, which you get by a chance when you're macerating obsidian, or a 100% chance when you're messing around with crushed obsidian, will pretty much be used in some recipes. We can check out the usability here. We've got reinforced rails in a rolling machine, and reinforced rails can be used to create these different kinds of tracks, reinforced tracks to be specific, and reinforced tracks are also more resistant to explosions. Basically, you're probably going to want to use these tracks in the nether. Trust me, if you are dealing with gassed explosions in the nether, no better place to start messing around with reinforced tracks. Much higher resistance to explosion than regular tracks. Oh yeah, speaking of the rolling machine, sorry guys, it requires Buildcraft energy now. No more rolling massive metals into rolled track for free. So go ahead and hook it up to some Buildcraft power and you'll be well taken care of. No worries, it's all good. This machine doesn't require a terribly large amount of power, but let's get a recipe going in there real quick anyway. Just gonna grab myself some iron ingots and get ready to roll. There we go. You can see it's going to go ahead and charge up its megajoules per tick, so it requires far less than, of course, this guy over here, but you get your standard rails from it. Awesome. Thank you, rolling machine. Now, on to checking out some of that reinforced stuff that I talked about a moment ago. If you maybe already had some rails in the nether, or maybe you'd like to upgrade some existing rails to another type of rail, then you might be interested in checking out the track relayer. What this guy can do is if you simply put it on a track, you give it a pattern of what to upgrade from what track to another track. So if I want to upgrade regular tracks to reinforced tracks and give it a stock of reinforced tracks, as it runs down, it's going to take care of that for me. And you can see it spitting out the old reinforced tracks. Of course, you don't have to push it. You'd probably use a powered track, but just for demonstration purposes, this is what I'm doing. And it'll basically replace the existing track with the new type of track as displayed. Now, if you want to do something a little bit different, maybe you want to set up a, reinforced obsidian dust underneath here, the crushed obsidian, to prevent explosions underneath the track, then you're probably going to want to use the undercutter. What this guy allows you to do is pretty much tell it what to do underneath the tracks. So I can tell it to replace dirt and sand maybe, but I'm just going to leave it as dirt, with crushed obsidian and give it a stock of that stuff. And you can see underground there it's doing exactly that. It's replacing everything underneath itself with crushed obsidian. Pretty cool. So those are two new carts available in Railcraft. Now, I feel like Covert Jaguar is really having fun with these buildable structures like the coke oven and the rock crusher because he's got a couple more for us to show you guys. First off, I want to show you this thing. Just build a 3x3 and then again, but leave an open slot in the middle, and then one more time on the top. Ta-da! If you use this water tank siding, which requires a slime ball and some other cool stuff, you've got a water tank. And the cool thing about this is it just gradually over time starts filling up with water. Might be useful for some steam engines in the future. I don't know, just theorizing again. But your water tank will gradually produce its own water for you. After all, water is, pretty much free in Minecraft, so it's not in any way overpowered in my opinion. It's pretty cool. It's got its own internal storage, and you can fill up buckets with it. Pretty cool. Nice way to generate water. Now the thing about this is it is dependent on whether or not it can see the sky and what type of biome it is in. It will create far less water if you build one of these in a desert, as you might expect. But pretty simply, add a liquid loader onto the side of this thing, and you'll pretty quickly start having some water fill up inside your liquid loader as it fills up in the water tank. Pretty cool. Filling her up. Now, more about buildable structures. We are ready to cover the iron tanks. These guys are awesome and definitely one of my favorite parts of the new additions to Railcraft. Iron tanks are a way to store liquids. We've got all these new liquids to deal with. We've got creosote oil, we've got lots of water being produced. It can store pretty much any liquid, including forestry liquids and Buildcraft liquids and any other mod that adds liquids to the game. Pretty much, you just need to build a structure using the following items. Iron tank walls, which require iron plates, and are crafted with some iron in a rolling machine. You get 8 of them for 9 iron ingots, so not too bad. You also need some iron tank gauges, which are glass panes and iron plates. And then you need an iron tank valve, which are iron bars and more iron plates. Now these guys combined allow you to create a structure which can hold liquid. The structures can be of the following sizes: 3x3, 5x5, or 7x7. All you gotta do is build it out. So let's go with a 3x3 first. Okay, now of height you can go anywhere from 4 to 8 blocks tall of any of these varieties. So I'm going to go with the smallest tank possible and go with 4 blocks tall. Ta-da! There we go. Now, once you've built out the outer structure of this, you're basically going to want the roof and the sides here to be covered with iron blocks. Then you need to place your glass blocks here on the sides. And finally, you're going to want some valves. So I'm going to have 2 valves in here. I'm going to have one on this side. And the valves have to be in the bottom 2 blocks. So either this row or this row, the bottom 2 rows. I'm going to place one over here and one over here. And once complete, this thing should update and become 1 block. Cool, nice. It's got an internal storage of 576,000, and as we recall from earlier, 1,000 is equal to 1 bucket. So we can store 576 buckets worth of liquid in this iron tank. All we gotta do is start pumping into it. So let's get that going now. I'm gonna handle this off camera. Now, as you guys have seen me do before, I've got a Buildcraft pump set up here with some redstone engines and pipe leading into that valve block. You have to use the valve block to pump liquids in and out of the tank here. And as you can see, it's kind of filling up as it goes. It's pretty cool. And we can check inside and see that we're getting quite a lot of water already. Plenty to start filling up this iron tank. Pretty awesome. And of course, we can pump out the side here by just hooking up a redstone engine and getting it going. So let's take care of that right now. Just a redstone engine and some waterproof piping. We can go waterproof. And let's just, for demonstration purposes, go ahead and put it right here into some old-fashioned Buildcraft tanks. Just hook this guy up, just like that. Pretty cool. There we go, and we'll start pumping out of this guy. Pretty neat. And you can see the water getting pumped out. Perfect. Again, need to use those valve blocks to pump liquids in and out. And you can store this, like I said, in a 3x3, 5x5, or 7x7 tank. And you can get as high as 8 blocks tall. How about I build the max size one right now, off camera? Alright, as you can see, I built a 7x7 structure here. The roof has all the metal blocks, and the walls are all the glass blocks. Hopefully this builds. Hey, it did. Nice. This is now a nice liquid tank. Ha! It can store 6,272 buckets of liquid? Yeah, it's a lot, I know, but it's awesome. All we have to do, of course, to start filling it up is get a valve tank in there. So all we have to do is replace one of these guys. I'll just put it over here in place of this block. Note when I break the block, it's no longer a clickable block, it breaks down, but replacing this guy will replace it. You can break it when it's got liquid inside. From what I understand, it's the very middle block inside the base there that stores the actual data. So as long as you break a block, so let's try it now over here. So I can break this, note that it's gone, but when I replace it, all the liquid should still be there. So we didn't lose those 91 buckets of water when we went and broke this. It's okay. Just don't break the middle block on the base. That's the one that stores the data, from what I understand. I'm going to go ahead and hook up some waterproof pipes to run over here just to demonstrate this awesomely large tank filling up. There we go. Cool. Ta-da! Starting to fill with water. Nice. And this thing will fill up all the way eventually. Now, it's a 7x7. I've already requested a 9x9. Don't worry. Covert Jaguar laughed when I made that recommendation. I guess we'll see if we get one eventually. I don't know. I kind of feel like a 9x9 would be cool. But yeah, that is the Iron Tank. A pretty awesome device. All right, and I think we're pretty close to wrapping this up. I just wanted to show you one minor little change. Ties, wooden ties, can now be made in a carpenter as long as you put creosote oil in the side of the carpenter and supply it with slabs. So this is a little working between Railcraft and forestry. Little bit cheaper. Note that it requires about 0.75 buckets, so about 3/4 of a bucket worth of creosote oil if you use the carpenter. Of course, you must supply it with Buildcraft power, so it's up to you if you want to go with that. But save yourself a little creosote oil, and it's an option for you if you have forestry installed. So, this is Direwolf20 signing off on the Railcraft version 6.0 Spotlight. Like I said, tons of stuff added. I can totally see him going in a new direction with steam power. I have a feeling we're going to see more of that in the near future. And all the other cool additions here are just awesome. I like these buildable structures. It's one of the few mods that does this. Forestry has started a new block over there. You can see it in the distance if you didn't see my forestry spotlight. That works similar to these. And I feel like, I don't know, this might be a pretty cool future of Railcraft and some other mods. The ability to build these blocks that get morphed into, giant machines for you is pretty cool. So, hope you guys enjoyed checking out Railcraft. Definitely an awesome mod for all your rail needs, and I recommend you download it and play around with it. It's really, really fun. All right, guys, take it easy.